In this video, I'm going to give you 3 reasons why you should be using lists in SharePoint to manage your tasks instead of spreadsheets in Excel. Let's hop right into it. All right, now check this out. You do have a decision to make before creating your list. Now, you know how there's OneDrive and then there's SharePoint? OneDrive is for all of your stuff and then SharePoint is to share with everybody else. There is a feature called Microsoft Lists inside of 365. This is like the OneDrive of lists. So if you need to create a list for yourself, in this case, you want to create a task list for yourself, you do it in Microsoft Lists. But if this task list is for a bunch of people to share, which is likely, then you want to create it on a site. Now, here's the thing. It's possible that your folks did not create a site for your project because people don't even know you can do that. What they do know about is Microsoft Teams. Now, every single time you create a Microsoft team, at least today, you automatically get a SharePoint site with it. Now, you can take that SharePoint site and that's where you can create your task list for this video. That's where I'm going to do it today, because I think that scenario is more likely. Now, when you're in Microsoft Teams and you go to the library, whatever they call it these days inside of Teams, look above the library where the menu is, and you should see something that says Open in SharePoint. When you click Open in SharePoint, that's going to take you to the corresponding SharePoint site of your Microsoft team. So let's say you called your Microsoft team Project 123. If you go inside of the library and look for the menu right above the library, it might not be the whole menu. You might have to click the 3 dots, the ellipses, whatever they call it. Click that and you'll see something that says Open in SharePoint. Then when you open in SharePoint, you'll go to a website, a literal Microsoft Team site. They call it a SharePoint team site. You'll go there and the name of that site will be called Project 123. It happens automatically. That library on Project 123's site is the same library that's on your Microsoft team. So that's where we're going to go today. Quick recap. Microsoft Lists, which you can see in the app launcher, that is where you create lists for yourself. Can you share them with other folks? Can you put them on those sites? I mean, put them on SharePoint sites? Yes, you can. But the primary thought process is that's for me. But if you have a project site or if you have a SharePoint team site that has already been created and you're managing all of these tasks for the project, you can put your task list there. So either one, whichever one works for you, follow along, because the process is going to be the same no matter if you use it in Microsoft Lists or Microsoft Teams. So here's the other thing too. I'm sending you over to SharePoint to create it for SharePoint, but it doesn't have to only live in SharePoint. You could literally go back to Microsoft Teams, add a tab, and make the task list as part of your Microsoft team. So it's all integrated. Now, let's get started. All right, you know what? Before we go forward, we're just going to call them lists. The reason why you should use lists instead of spreadsheets, I have 3 reasons. The 3 reasons are forms, views, and automation. Those are the 3 reasons why I think you should do your task management in SharePoint instead of a spreadsheet. I'm going to show you how those 3 things work today by creating our own task list. So here's the project. The project is a building relocation. This happens all the time. The team has been working in a certain headquarters building for so long, and now a lot of people are going back into the office. A lot of people were working remote, but now they're back into the office. Maybe, we used to be able to accommodate 80 people on the team, but we've outgrown that. The team is getting bigger and we have less people working remote and we need a better location. So now we have to relocate. We're going to get a bigger facility. We're going to get a more modern facility. We're going to be able to accommodate more people. It's going to be a better location for food options or whatever when you go on lunch break, whatever. The project that we're working on is that we're moving buildings, and that is a big project. That's a big undertaking in itself. Matter of fact, I just spoke to the CEO of Center for Transforming Lives in Texas, Carol Klosek. She was on my podcast and she was talking about how big of a deal it is to do that building move. Anybody in corporate highly likely has been a part of this. And if you haven't, then you're getting ready to be at one point in your career. There will be a building move where we go from one building to another, one location to another. And that is a project that everybody's involved in. There's money involved. There's IT involved. There's operations who's probably overseeing the whole thing. So that's the project that we're going to be tackling today. And for this project, there's going to be a ton of tasks. So we're going to create a bunch of tasks for this project. Before we hop into the computer, let me explain to you what we're about to do. So first we have to create the task list. If you create a task list inside of a spreadsheet, the amount of things that you have available to you and what you can do is not as much as you have inside of a list when it comes to creating tasks, right? So when you spin up a spreadsheet, there's not much thinking involved when you start creating these columns and thinking about the information that you're going to track. And I don't mean like it's like you're an idiot. I don't I don't mean that. What I'm saying is if you want to create a column inside of a spreadsheet, you just write the name of the column at the top of the column. There's some other features that are available to you, but for the most part, that's all you do. You just write the name of the column at the top of the column. In SharePoint, it's a whole different story. Every time you create a column to track some kind of information, there's decisions that you have to make. And I'm going to walk you through some of those decisions today. For me to give you all of the decisions that you have to think about every time you create a new column, way too much. But at least today, what I'm going to show you is some of the things you want to think about when you are creating your columns to manage your tasks. Now we can hop into the computer. All right, good deal. Now we're in my screen, but what we're doing right now is we're looking at teams because I want to show you what I meant by, every time you create a new team, then you automatically get a SharePoint site. So I'm going to come over here in the teams because, a lot of people know about this. So we will create a new team. We're going to call this team Headquarters Building Move. We could probably do better, but that's fine. The Headquarters Building Move, no need to be private. So we'll make it org wide. And then first channel name, I'm going to say main, and I'm going to hit create. And again, the reason we're doing this is because I have to keep driving home the point. A lot of people don't even know that you could just go into SharePoint and create a site. You can do that. Like there's a way for you to go into SharePoint and just create a new site. But a lot of people don't know about that. And a lot of people don't even use that way. But way more people definitely know about Microsoft Teams, and they use Teams to collaborate on projects. Makes sense. It's a great place to communicate, trade information back and forth, links, pictures, whatever, videos. Like it's perfect. But people don't know that there's a site involved that you can use. So we created our new team, and down here it says main. So I come to main, and then look right up here. I automatically get posts. This is where we chat, files, page, notes. So now if I come to files, this is where all of the files that we share are going to be hosted. It's in this library. But this library is also connected to the SharePoint site that already automatically got created. Now this is fine. I understand what I'm seeing here. It's because I literally just created it. And sometimes as soon as you create it, things got to get provisioned in the background. So it might take a while before it comes up. That's okay. I'm gonna hit retry. See if we can go there. No retry. We just got to wait a few minutes. Now I could try a trick to see if the actual site is created, but while the site is not created, there is a trick. I could see if the site is created by going to a specific URL. Let's try that. So the first thing I do is I type in the link to the SharePoint site of my whole organization, which is this. My organization is TTLS4, and then I'm going into SharePoint.com. But then I'm going to say Teams after the slash. Then I'm going to put another slash and say Headquarters Building Move. So I'm going to say HQ Building Move, all with no spaces. And let's see what happens. File not found. So this thing is not created yet. Let's try something else. Let's go to the SharePoint start page and then come up here and search. And I'll say Headquarters Building Move. Oh, because I typed in /teams instead of /sites. Anyway, this is it. It says we can start designing our site. I'll say maybe later. But this is what I'm talking about. Because we created a Microsoft team called the Headquarters Building Move. First of all, look, this link right here goes back to that Microsoft Teams channel that we just came from, which is this. It goes back over here. And this document library right here, this library with that name main that was created 3 minutes ago by me, this exists inside of this SharePoint site, but it also exists right here inside of Teams. So let's see if I go to posts and come back to files. Will it show up this time? It should, because now it exists. Yeah, so see, same library. Let me show you something real quick. I'll upload a file over here in Teams. Right here, office relocation file, project task CSV. We're going to be using that later. If I come back over here to our library on SharePoint, if I click in the main, guess what I'm going to see? The same file uploaded a few seconds ago by me. This library is shared between SharePoint and Teams. These are the same things. So with that being said, that is the beginning piece that I want you to see. Now let's get into creating this task list. Okay, let's think about what we're going to track inside of this task list. We're not going to go crazy. I'm going to just show you some of the basics about what we can do. So first of all, we need to have a task name. Every single time you create a new Microsoft list, you automatically get a column called title. The title is literally what you're tracking. So in our case, we're tracking tasks. So we could take that title column and leave it the way it is, or we could rename it and call it task name, or we could call it task title, whatever. But just know that that's the literal thing that you're tracking, and you use that column that way every single time you create a SharePoint list. We also want to track our description. So you'll have the name of the task, but we also want to get like a detailed description of the task. Sometimes the title doesn't tell you everything you need. We also want to track the department. So what department is in charge of this item, of this task? Like who needs to handle this. We also want to track the status. Is the status in progress? Is it completed? Is it on hold? Whatever. We obviously have to track status when we're tracking tasks. And we got to put a due date on it. When is this thing due? That's also very important. And lastly, even though we're tracking departments, we also need to know who in the department is tracking it. So you work in finance, so we know finance is responsible for this, but who in finance is responsible for this? That's very important because every task is assigned to somebody, even though they're inside of a group. We need to know the group, so we know the finance department is in charge of it, and who is the person. Because what if that person is on leave? I need to know which department to go to, who's handling it. At least the boss does. So we're going to create those columns right now. Let's hop into the computer. Okay, last time we left off on the computer, we were looking at the headquarters building move library, the one that's connected to Teams. So we're going to come out of here and just hit the home button because we want to get to the home page of this site. And then when we do that, this is your menu right here. You want this menu new where you could create lists, you create lists, forms, you can create libraries, pages, posts, links, a planner app, all that. It's a whole thing. But we're going to do a list. Now, granted, there are multiple things you're going to see when we get ready to create a list. Matter of fact, here, let me just show you. You got options. Create the list or create a form or a gallery or a calendar or a board, import it from Excel or a CSV or an existing list. Take one of the templates that Microsoft has already created for you or some templates that already exist inside of your organization. This is a whole thing you got going on here. However, we're going right here. I'm going to show you the old school, original, basic way that we create a list because I think it's important for the fundamentals. After you go through this process, if this is your first time seeing this, you can go crazy and go through all these other ones. But right here, I'm going to show you how to do it with a list. So we create a list. We say these are, we just call it tasks. If I wanted to name this something different, then I would probably give it a name like building tasks. And if I was to call it building tasks like this, BUIL building tasks, I'd tell you not to put that space in there. Instead, I would tell you to do this, name it building tasks. The reason being is because when you get the URL, because every single list that you create has a URL, when you get the final URL for this list, it comes with a space and extra characters in the URL. You don't really want that. Not a humongo deal, but as long as you remember to do this, if you only got one word, you're fine. But if you have two words, remove the space. And then once your list is created, add the space back in so it doesn't look weird. You know what? Instead of explaining all that and making you guess what that looks like, let me just show you. I'll call it building tasks and I'll spell this incorrectly. All right. So now we have building space tasks. I'm going to take out the space and just call it building tasks. And then we're going to leave this checked because that's going to put it in the navigation, which is this. You can see that navigation going on the left-hand side. If I uncheck this, then this word right here with the link does not pop up right here. But if I check this, then it does pop up right here. For this video, I'm going to leave it in there and create that. If you're wondering why would you not do that? So one reason could be like, this site is active and rocking and rolling and you don't really want people to start clicking on things before it's ready. Right now, what we're doing is preparing this list for people to use. It's not ready to use yet. So we could uncheck it and, nobody knows it exists unless they go digging inside of SharePoint. And then we prepare it, get it all done. And then we put it back into the navigation list here, which is, there's a different process to do that. So now that we have created the list, if you look up here at the URL, you'll see this is our URL, building tasks, just like that. If we didn't do that, if we would have took the space, it would have probably ended up with something like 7% or something like that. I don't remember actually, not ampersand, but percent, 7%. It'd have been something like this. I actually don't remember off the top of my head, but that's okay because we got what we wanted, which is, building tasks just like this. That's the URL to our list and it doesn't have any wacky spaces in it. Now that we've completed that, we come over here and click on building tasks, give that a space, hit save, and now it looks normal. It doesn't look like, what it looked like before with the notes, no space. So got through that. Now let's create our columns. Now, like I said, every time you create a new list, then it comes along with its own title column, which is this right here. It does have some other columns, but they're not showing right now. So you have your title column. Let's first rename this. There's a easy way to do this and there's a more complicated way to do this. I'm just going to show you the quick and easy way. You come down here, you click that menu item, and then you click rename and rename this to task. That's it. That's all we got to do. Just call it a task. Next, we want to to get a description. So now we hit this, we add column. You have all these choice kinds of columns you can create: text, choice, date and time, multiple lines of text, person, all of that. I'm gonna walk you through some of these. We're not gonna get through all of these in this video, but I'm gonna show you just for our task list what you want to do. So this text column is just a basic column. That's what this is actually. This next one, choice, that's where you pick choices, but we're going to multiple lines of text. We're gonna click that, then click next, and then say description. Now remember when I told you that you get options in SharePoint to create do more things when you create a column. It's not so simple as, you just put the word description at the top of a column like you would in a spreadsheet. First, we call this column description. Do we want to put a description at the bottom? We can. I'll show you what that looks like. So give full details of the task. We leave this alone because we've already chosen that we want it to be a multiple lines of text. We'll skip this for now. We're not going to give a default value. We're not going to use a calculated value, but look at all these choices. Look at all these things you have to decide on when you create it. What we're going to do is leave this unchecked. We're going to leave this unchecked, but we're going to check this, that we require this column contains information, because we don't want just some quick short description of the task. We want details, like what does the task entail? What do we have to do? So now we hit save. Once we do that, you see we have the description field. Now let's create our department field. So we go in here again, we add column, and we're going to choice. Then we hit next, and we're going to say this is a department. Now a sophisticated SharePoint installation will have you where you probably already have a list of departments, and you could just pull that in here and start using this on this list. But I'm guessing you don't have that. And if you do have that, you're probably in contact with a SharePoint person that can help you out. I'm here to show you, the regular person who probably never even heard of SharePoint, how to get spun up quick and easy. And then you want to take some more advanced stuff, then reach out to me. I do training all the time. So here's your department column, and we have a list of departments that we want to add here, right? So let's say, facilities, they're going to be heavily involved with this. Then of course, IT. What else we got? Finance, HR, security. Maybe we can even say communications, if that's the name of the department. Maybe you call it something else. And maybe admin. Yeah, we'll say admin. Okay. And then, you know what? You might have an external vendor. Let's do that. External vendor. Yes, I am. I'm going to change this color real quick, just so it looks different than what communications look like. So now we have choices that we can make. We can put the task inside of a certain department, or we can say this department is responsible for this task, like I was saying earlier. And here's our list. Now, just like we did with the other column, we have options. So we can make this a radio button or a drop down. We can allow multiple selections, which I'm going to do that because sometimes a task is not just, one department handling it. Finance might be collaborating with facilities, so we'll allow them to pick multiple offices. And do I need this column to be populated? Absolutely. This is a very important column. So I'm going to hit yes. All right, good deal. Now let's create our status column. So we're going to hit add column again. We're going to say this is also a choice, and then we're going to call this status. And I'm just going to rename blue to be not started. I'm going to say green is completed. I'm going to say yellow is in progress. And every time I hit enter, it adds a new item, but I don't want this new item. Just hit X. I'm gonna move in progress up because this is the way that you see this is the way it appears in the drop down. So can people add values manually? No, I don't want them to do that. What is the default value? I want to set the default value to not started. That means every single time that a new task is put in, it automatically defaults to being not started, which makes sense. Then we have more options. Now, I'm not gonna set this to be required that it needs information because by default, I've already set it to not started. So it already has information. I know that it's good. All we have to do is change it. Allow multiple selections? No, because that doesn't make any sense. Enforce unique values? No, we don't need to do that. And here, I actually want to add one more choice. I lied. Let's call this on hold in case some part of the project is on hold. So now we hit save. And let's do one more. Due date. Let's pick a date and time. Hit next. Say due date. And then do we want to include time? No. But again, list of options that you got to choose. Do we want friendly format? If you say yes, what this means is that you'll look to see when this was created and it'll say something like yesterday or a few moments ago or something like that. Or it'll say those friendly names. Non-standard names. We don't want that. We're going to keep it at no. The default value, we're actually not going to set it, but we can if we wanted to. We could say we could set the default value to today's date because for whatever reason we wanted to set it to today's date. We don't want that because highly likely if you're putting in a task, you're not putting in a task that's due today. So we don't want that. Can I select a date and time? I can do that too, but we don't want that. We're just going to leave it at none. We're going to leave it blank, but we are going to require that this column contains information because you're not going to put in a task in here and not give us a date. Not going to enforce unique values. It's not going to talk about column validation. We're just going to hit save. Okay, so we have created our task list. This is it. I do want to talk about something though. All right, so we've completed our task list. This is the task list we're going to use to manage the, to move to the new building. But I told you there's 3 reasons why I think you should use lists instead of spreadsheets. And I'm about to show you the first reason right now. Forms. When we created that list and we added those columns, automatically a form was being built in the background. A form with our columns. You saw we added a description to the description field. For description, we said, make sure you put in all this information, put in the details for the task. That shows up on the form. When we have them enter a due date and all that other stuff, and we require them to do that, that's on the form. So I'm about to show you what the form is. This is reason number 1 why this list is better than your spreadsheet, because you don't get this with your spreadsheet, at least not easily. This comes out of the box just like this. This is what it's used for. So let's get back into the computer. Let me show you what the form looks like that you've just built, that automatically got built as you created your list. All right, good deal. So now we're back in the computer. And as you can see, remember, we made a task, description, department, status, due date. All of those things are there inside of our list. If we wanted to add information to this list, here's one way. I'm gonna show you real quick what you could do that you're used to with spreadsheets. I can hit edit in grid view, just like that. And then I can say the first item is secure a lease for the new space, right? So secure a lease for the new space. And then the description will say, you have to, let's do this. Drop that in there, finalize and sign a lease agreement for the new office location. We put that in there and then we hit check to populate that field. Then which department are we talking about? So we click this and we have to pick a department. Let me open up this column a little bit more. So we pick this, we're giving this to facilities. Now, the reason why I could still use this column, it hasn't closed itself off yet, is because I have the option to pick more items like this, but I don't need more items. I'm checking that off. I'm just going to hit this check mark to say this belongs to facilities. And then the status automatically selected itself to be not started. And then we have to pick a due date. Let's say, here, I click into it. I get a calendar. I'll move this down to October 7th. Right? Like that's when that's due. The reason all that stuff was turning red is because they are required columns and SharePoint wants you to put the information in there and not save it without putting that information in there, which is, again, something you don't get with a spreadsheet. Because remember, you send your spreadsheet out all the time and you ask people to put information into the spreadsheet. And what do? They skip a bunch of information or they put foolishness inside of your spreadsheet. For instance, they don't know a due date. So what do they write? TBD, to be determined, or they N/A, not applicable. No, put in a due date. You know what I'm saying? Even if you're guessing, put in a stupid due date. Pardon me. All right, so we hit exit to get out of that grid view. And now we see our item right here. So far, not too different from a spreadsheet. But here is the thing that you get with SharePoint that you do not get with a spreadsheet. Hit add new item. Right here. And now look at what you get. You get a form, which is what people are used to. You know what I'm saying? Which is easier to fill in than a spreadsheet. It's just a form for a single item and you start entering information in here. So let's do one. For the task name, this one is going to be conduct site inspection. So we're going to conduct a site inspection. Then let's drop this in here. We'll perform initial walkthrough to assess the condition of the new office. So we could go on. This column allows us to do way more than that, but I'm not putting in these deep, long descriptions. I'm just showing you that if I wanted to, I could put a lot of information in here. And let me show you this too. So give full details of the task. Remember, we put that description in the column description. That shows up right here. Give full details of the task. Now the department. So for the department, I just go in here and I say facilities and I hit the check mark just like we did in the grid view. Look at not started. It already populates itself right there. Due date, you see the little red mark right there. It says that it's mandatory. So on your spreadsheet, you can't force people to give you information, but on a form inside of SharePoint, we can. We don't want you entering any tasks without giving it a due date because you have to have a due date. We need to know when this thing is going to be done. Now look what happens if they try to do that. I'm going to leave that blank and I'm going to hit save. I can't hit save. It automatically pops up with this calendar. And look what it says. You can't leave this blank. So they're right. Okay, fine. I'll pick a date. Let's go with October 23rd on this one. And if I wanted to, I could add some attachments, which is another cool feature. You cannot do that in a spreadsheet. So let's say that for this one, for the conduct the site inspection, maybe there's what do you call that? So the state says there are certain things that you have to do when you conduct the site inspection. And this involves like filling out some type of paperwork. I could take that paperwork and add it right here. And then I could also put in the description, I could say, also make sure that you fill out the paperwork for the state. See attached. You know what I'm saying? Like that is a powerful feature that you do not get inside of your spreadsheet. So just remember that. All right, now I'm gonna hit save and look what it does. It automatically puts the item right here. I wanna show you something with these forms. So if I go back into the form by hitting add new item, I get to see my form. Now, there's a few things you could do on this form. With this link right here, if I sent that link to someone, they would see this form and then they can fill it out. So that's a cool thing that I get. I get a link to the actual form. I could send it to somebody on the team and say, listen, put in all your tasks. So they could click on that link. It'll take them to the form. They could fill that out right here. Edit columns. This allows me to add and remove columns off of the form. This also allows me to put a little bit of code on the form. So maybe I wanted to say, like, if you pick the status of finance, I could show another field that makes you enter some more information. So I get options on my form. In addition, if we look at configure layout, this allows you to actually make this form look different. You could get some JSON code off of the SharePoint list GitHub. I think it's called the SharePoint list GitHub. I don't know, but I'll leave a link to it in the description. You could go there and get all kinds of options to make your form look different. And you could do it up here by the header. So this is what the header is about. You could do it in the body area where all the fields are, and you could do it down here in the footer, right here. You got all kinds of custom codes you can do. And guess what? You can't do that in a spreadsheet. Just remember that. One more thing I want to point out. See this feature right here called forms? This is another feature that they added on SharePoint called lists or forms for lists. What this allows you to do is to create forms that actually look better. So if I hit create form, I get to create this cool looking form. I get branching with it. So that's, again, back to if someone answers this way, then show me this. I get to easily add or take away fields. I do get a URL, so a direct link to this. I can change the theme of this form. I can add a logo. I could get notified. I could turn off accepting responses. It's too much to get into. The point is, I get so many more features in here that I do not get with a spreadsheet. Now, see, it automatically created this because I did that. Let me hit delete on that. Now, my favorite thing about this feature is that people don't need access to this list in order to fill that form out. That used to be a problem that's still currently a problem. If you are worried about people, digging behind the scenes and finding all of your SharePoint data, then you can use these forms right here to collect information from people who actually can't go digging behind the scenes and find all that information. I'll actually show you what I mean by that. So let me show you what I mean by that. So first of all, let's do this. I'm going to take this URL, right, which is the headquarters building move. This is actually here. We're going to go right here all the way up to building tasks. I'm going to take that URL and show you something. So because it's a public team, remember when we made the Microsoft team, we made it open to the whole organization. So just now, as I'm using this list, I signed in on a different account as Miriam right here, Miriam Graham. That's why my picture popped up here, because SharePoint is telling me somebody else is using this list at the same time as me. And that's this. Here's that screen. This is that screen. I'm logged in as Miriam up here, but I can see that Thurman is also using this list at the same time. So that's one of the features that allow us to collaborate and know who else is using the list at the same time, who else is like visiting the list. Normal stuff, because other Microsoft tools do this. They show you who's using the item as you are. So if Miriam wanted to come in here and see everybody else's information, she could do that. But if Miriam did not have access to this list, if I removed her access from the list, but I created a form and sent her the link to that form, she could still put in information into the form, hit submit. That information will come into the list, but she can't access the list. That is my favorite feature about this, because all the time people are worried, like, we want to keep data separated, which that's a whole nother thing that I'll go on a soapbox about some other day, but they want to keep the data separated and not have people being able to go see everybody else's information. So one of the best fixes for that is we need to collect the information, so get it through a form, but once they submit through the form and it comes into the list, that's it. They cannot touch the data inside of the form. So that's all I have to say about forms in this video. I have a ton more to say about forms, but right now I just wanted to show you that the first reason that you want to start using lists instead of spreadsheets is because of forms. Because once you start to, create your columns, then you automatically get this form available to you. You also have this form available to you, that feature. You also have another feature, which is Power Apps. Story for another day, but you could take Power Apps and really super customize your SharePoint form. And there are some other features as well, like some custom features that you could use to format your form. It's really powerful. You would be blown away if you saw all the things you could do. But again, not for this video. Next, let's go into the second thing that I said, the second reason why you need to use lists instead of spreadsheets, and that is because of views. Views will blow your mind. Okay, now here's how you have to think about views. Views allow you to see your data in a whole bunch of different ways than just this regular grid view that we're used to with columns and rows, right? So now, under normal circumstances, if you're inside of your spreadsheet and you say something like, okay, there's multiple of us using this spreadsheet spreadsheet, but I want to separate tasks by person or even by department, because it would be better if they just saw that information on their own. They don't really necessarily have to see all of the information that we're all working on. I'm the person who's in charge of this project. I probably need to see all of the tasks, but each department need to see their own tasks. So what does somebody with a spreadsheet do? They go to the bottom of the spreadsheet and they open a new tab, and they call that new tab IT. And then they copy all of the IT tasks off of the main tab of the spreadsheet, and then they paste them onto the IT tab of the spreadsheet. Well intentioned. They're saying, look, I got a whole bunch of tasks, but I know you, IT, you don't really care about all that. You just want to deal with your tasks and the stuff that you have to do for the new building. It gets too overwhelming when you have to look at all these tasks. I'm the project manager. I'm in charge. I need to see all of the tasks, but you don't need to. You could just go see your IT stuff. HR, you can see your HR stuff. Communications, you can see your communication stuff. So they create a tab for every department involved with this project. Again, well-intentioned, but this is bad. And let me tell you why. Because once you do that, you're now introducing the issues that you have with copied data, and that is endless. You know what I mean? The amount of problems you can get with that. Here's one. You already know about this, but I'm going to explain it to you. If I'm in IT and one of my tasks is, I have task A I have to handle. I come to the spreadsheet that you've sent me via email. First of all, we already have a problem. I have a copy of the spreadsheet. You have a copy of the spreadsheet. I go into my copy and I open up the IT section and I say, okay, let me update the task on the second tab, because that's where I work. I work on that second tab that's called IT. Then someone else, they open their thing, communication, and they're on the third tab, let's say. So communications goes to that third tab. They make their updates. That's where they work. They work in the third tab. You as the project manager, you told IT, communications, and all these other folks that as they work, just send you the spreadsheet at the end of the week or something like that, where you then are going to go through what they've done and copy their information onto your master spreadsheet inside of their tab. What I mean is, you take the IT stuff, you copy it out of the IT tab that IT has sent you, and then you paste it into the IT tab on your master spreadsheet. Then you say, I'm gonna make sure that I keep that in sync with my main tab on the master spreadsheet. So you copy those tabs, or you copy those tasks out of the IT tab, and then you put it in your master spreadsheet main tab. This is crazy, respectfully. You know what I'm saying? And a waste of time. SharePoint eliminates that whole entire process. And here's why. Because when you're working with SharePoint, every task is one record by itself. And we get to see those records in so many different ways and split them off, just like we would do in the tabs in a spreadsheet. But guess what? When we do that, it's not separating the data. It's just letting you see it in a different way. Now, I'm going to show you what that looks like as we get into the computer. Let's do that. Okay, so we are back on the screen here. What I'm going to do with the magic of recording is I'm going to populate all these tasks and then we'll get started again. Okay, good deal. So we have our populated list. This is our SharePoint list with all our populated items. We've divvied them up by department. We haven't given them different statuses. They're all marked as not started. We have the task name, the description, the due date. We're good. Let's do a few things that I like to do when I'm looking at these lists in SharePoint. So first, how many tasks do we have? So let me total that and give you a count, right? So we got 20 tasks. See it popped up down there at the bottom. Then with this all white background, it's kind of hard to differentiate, or I got a better way to differentiate, and that's by coming here and going to format current view, and then I hit alternating row styles. Once I click that, then you see it goes gray, white, gray, white, gray, white. So I hit save on that, then I hit close. Sometimes this doesn't stick, because SharePoint will SharePoint. And if you see that you refresh this page and it's still not gray, white, literally just do the same thing again. I'm also going to drag this column right here and make sure that I get to see everything on, one line. I like to see it that way. And then just to be on the safe side, it's supposed to save it this way, but just to be on the safe side, I come here, I hit save view, I'm good to go. But I'm going to refresh it as well to make sure everything sticks. Because again, SharePoint will SharePoint. All right, good. We got our list. We know how many items we have. We, got our gray, white, so we can see it easily. Cool. Now, let me show you that example that I was talking about where we divvy up this information. So let's say I want to see all the IT stuff. So I'm going to filter this and say IT, hit apply. So IT has 5 items and we can see them right here. Run network wiring, order AV, install AV, configure the network and Wi-Fi, whatever. All kinds of stuff, right? Cool. Now I just filtered this and I'm still sitting on this, what is called the all items view. What I'm going to do is, since I filtered it by IT, you can see I did it right here. I'm going to come to this drop down and I'm going to say save view as. I'm going to change it from all items and say IT. And I'm going to make this a public view checked. I'm going to hit save. Now, when I hit save, for whatever reason, SharePoint, as I said, is going to SharePoint. So now it looks all wacky. I don't like that. I'm going to drag this out. Give it that one column. I'm gonna drag this out, give it that one column, and now I'm back to normal. And again, just to be on the safe side, I'm gonna hit save view. Because I don't know. Sometimes this thing just acts wacky. Anyway, I have 5 items in IT, but look, when I go back over to all items, there's all my 20, and still including the items from IT. I did not have to create a separate tab with separate data. All I did was show the whole data in a different view. Again, that view is called IT. It shows up right here, and there are 5 items. Now, let me show you how this works, because you actually get a unique URL with this. I'm going to copy this URL. I'll just show you what I know, which is if I took all of this off, took that view off, and just change where it says all items, I could change all items to say IT, because I know what I named this view. So now this IT view, or this link to IT, guess what? It's a unique link. I'm going to send this to Miriam, who's been hanging out here on this list with me. I'm going to send this to Miriam and say, hey, since you're in IT, go ahead and handle all of your tasks. Go ahead and handle all your tasks. You can use this view. It's the IT view. Let's say I send a link, right? I'm going to copy this and I'm going to show you what Miriam's screen looks like. So look at this. This is Miriam. I'm logged in as Miriam. This looks like the old stuff, and that's because I didn't refresh. So first, let's refresh. Now see, Thurman, who's the admin, administrated this list and made it so that I could see the gray and white. I could see the 20 items count. They're showing the count. I could see this new view called IT. But before I even do all of that, watch what I do now. I'm going to paste that link that Thurman sent to me as Miriam, and I'm going to hit enter. Now look where it takes me. A unique URL right directly to this view. I can do anything I want with this URL. I could put it in here. I could put it in my email signature. I could send it in an email straight up. I could put it on the front page of the intranet. I could put it on the front page of this site. I can do anything that I want because it's a URL, just like we use URLs in the real world. I can do anything I want with this. And every single time I create a view, it gets a unique URL. So I get to do that kind of cool stuff. Now, let me show you something. I'm Miriam. I'm on the list right now. I actually have an update that I need to make. Run network wiring and Wi-Fi survey. I will say, okay, cool. I'm in the middle of running this wiring. So I'm going to hit this and change it to in progress. And I'm going to say, I'm going to put a comment right here because we get to do this too. I've started the wiring, but who should be in charge of the survey? Is that also me? And then I just post that, and now I have this item showing a comment right here from me, Miriam. Actually, wait a minute. Let me do this. Let me tag Thurman. I want to make sure that he knows this comment is posted. So I'm gonna tag him right there, and that will notify him. So cool. I've updated this. I've marked it in progress. It's still IT. I'm good to go. Let's go back over to Thurman's screen. Well, look at that. First of all, I can see that Miriam is on this view, accessing that item. So that's cool. But here, let me hit refresh. Now, first of all, the first thing you should notice is that there's a comment there. If you look at these other items, there's no comment icon showing up. Why? Because there's no comment. But this one, there's a comment there. So I'm like, oh, okay. What's going on there? Let me see. But I also see that this item is in progress. But here, let me check it out. Oh, okay. Miriam has asked me this question, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I would say, Miriam, that would be you. I hit enter. I publish that comment. Miriam gets notified. We get to see this one item with a track record of everything that's happening as we post comments. All of that is sitting right here on this item. So good to go. Hit close. Now, let me show you something. If you did this inside of a spreadsheet, you would have to go through that whole process that I was talking about copying and pasting. But me as the project manager, says Thurman, I'm managing this project. When I go over there to this all items view, I still see all of the same information. It's all there. I have not copied and pasted no task. I haven't separated the data in any way behind the scenes because it's all still the same data. All I'm doing is viewing it in a different way. So number 2 that I wanted to talk about, why you should use a list instead of a spreadsheet to manage your tasks, is because of views. Views are super powerful. And I just showed you one view where I could say, this is all the IT stuff. IT doesn't need to see anything else. They could just come in here and manage their IT stuff. That's it. Now, let's talk about some more views. Let me show you this. When we first created this task list, I said that we were going to put in not only the departments, but who in the department has to handle these tasks, right? Now, I didn't do it because I wanted to save it for this portion right here because it'll make more sense to do it now. So let's add a person field because we want to give these tasks to people. So I'm going to hit here, add column, and I'm going down here to person, and I'm going to hit next. Now, the cool thing about this person field is it has access to everybody inside of your organization. So I'm going to say assign. I'm going to say assign to actually. And in the assign to, I'm going to say, yeah, we could show some profile photos. That's cool. I'll do that. Allow multiple selections. We would do that if we think that we're going to assign tasks to more than one person. We're not doing that. Just giving it to one person. Require that this contains information. Yes, because every task should be assigned to someone. But right now, I'm not going to do that for a different reason, but it doesn't matter. Enforce unique values. No, we're not doing that either. We're just going to hit save. And now I am going to go back to my IT view and I'm going to say, I want to add a column. That column that I just created, I did it in the all items view, which is where you should create all of your columns. It's called assign to. It's right here, right? But in the IT view, it doesn't exist. You have to actually add it there. And there's a couple ways for you to do it. We could hit add column and then right here, show or hide columns. So that's one way. Or you come under the view and click this last one, add or remove field. This is some Microsoft stuff. They call it one thing in this menu. They call it another thing in this menu. It's just, that's bad form. But whatever, I'm here to guide you. Hit the drop down, go to add or remove fields. And then look, all of these columns that we didn't create that automatically came with the list, we'll talk about that another day. Right now, what we want to do is get the column that I just created. Oh, okay, so the column is not, yes it is right here, assigned to. I was about to say that the column is not showing, and if it isn't, hit refresh and it'll show. So we'll do apply. So now assigned to is in here. Now look what I could do. I'm gonna go into grid view because I want to edit multiple items at once, multiple tasks. So right here, I'm gonna say this belongs to Miriam. As I type her name will come up. I'll give Miriam another one. This one belongs to Nestor. He's in IT, but I'm going to give it to Nestor. And then Alex has one. And then Miriam, again, has another one. See these profile pictures showing? That was that option that I set. That's why we see their pictures. I'm going to exit the grid view. And now we know inside of the IT department who these tasks belong to. If I go back to the all items view, guess what? I can see those pictures on those items. So again, we're not separating the data. Well, we kind of are. We're separating the data, but what we're also doing is keeping it together. All we do is just view it differently. It's just a bunch of different views. Powerful stuff. Now, let's create another view. I'm going to stay on this all items view. And I'm going to do a filter. I'm going to come to assign to, and I'm going to filter by, these are the options I have. Filter by at me, what's empty, Alex, Miriam, or Nesta. I could do all of that because these names are available in here. Now, I could select Miriam so that when people come here, they see all of Miriam tasks. But that's not what we want. We want to select this one, at me, which means that every time you come here, if you're Alex, you'll see Alex tasks. If you're Miriam, you'll see Miriam's tasks. If you're Nestor, you'll see Nestor's tasks. And if you're Thurman, you'll see Thurman's. So I'm going to hit right here for at me, hit apply. Nothing is applied to me. There's no tasks assigned to me right now. That's okay. Just watch. I'm going to come here and I'm going to save view as, and I'm going to rename this to my tasks. And I'm going to leave it as a public view and I'm going to hit save. So now this pops up as well. Remember, we have the all items view and we have the IT view and we have the my tasks view right here. Nothing is going to show up here for me because look, it's assigned to me. Nothing is assigned to me. So I'm going to hit all items. Now let's go back to Miriam's screen. So we come back over here. This is Miriam signed in right here. You see she has all items in IT. We don't see the new view yet. That's okay because all we got to do is refresh. All right, now we've refreshed. We see the new column assigned to in the IT view. We see our all items view. Take a guess at what you're going to see when I click on my tasks. We'll see just the tasks that are assigned to me, Miriam. This is my view, my tasks. And again, I am not separating anything. I'm just viewing the data in a different way. So I could see right now there's 3 items assigned to Miriam. When someone comes to this view, they'll see a different set of tasks. Because remember, when I went there as Thurman, when I went to my tasks as Thurman, I didn't see that. That wasn't there. So now I get to see this right here as Miriam. This is beautiful stuff. Again, if you're in a spreadsheet, you can't do this. You can't do this in a spreadsheet. You'll be wanting to pull your hair out. You know what I'm saying? Which sucks. So now let me show you another thing you could do with views. This is also powerful. So remember, I am the project manager and I care about certain things. I want this to look a certain way. So I'm going to do my own thing. Let's say that I want to see items that are in progress. So I'm going to hit this status right here. I'm going to say filter by, and I'm going to pick in progress and I'm going to hit apply. So this is my in progress view because I don't care about what's necessarily completed. I don't even care about what's not started yet. What is the active situation right now? What tasks are in progress? I need to know what's going on. So I come to all items and I save it again. I hit save view as, remember not save view, but save view as. I'll go in here and I'll say in progress, but I'm going to put a hyphen here and say private. I'm going to uncheck this to make this a public view. I'm going to uncheck that and I'm going to hit save. It says private. This in private view right now means what? It means what you think it means. It means that only I can see it. It's a private view. So I set this up in my own way because I'm like, yo, there's a certain way that I want to manage these tasks. It's for me. I don't need to see which department it is. I don't really care about which department it is. So I'm going to take this column and I'm going to hide it in this view called in progress private. No one else cares. It's all right. And I also know pretty much the description of the task. So I don't need to see the description. I'm going to hide this too. So on my view that I've created for myself as the project manager, because I felt like it, I want to see all of the items that are in progress. That's what I'm checking for. I unchecked that box that said, make this a public view, and I made it private. So only I could see this. And here's the proof. I'm going to show you when I go to Miriam's screen, come back to Miriam. I'm going to hit refresh. Now look what happens when we hit refresh. I can't see that private view. It's gone. So as a project manager, I get to do certain things that no one else has to know about, and it still does not disrupt what everybody else is doing. So Miriam doesn't have to see an in progress view. Maybe she does, maybe she doesn't. Who knows? But she doesn't see what I did, which is I made it in progress. I took away certain columns and I'm managing it that way. Like that's how I want to see it as a project manager. And inside of a spreadsheet, if I was to do that, that would disrupt what everybody else is doing because it's not a collaborative tool. Excel just isn't, in my opinion. It's a singular use it for yourself tool, but everybody has turned it into a collaborative tool because they didn't know that they could do something better with these other tools here. That's okay. I'll help you out. So now here's the other thing too. It updates in real time. So it's not like, you set it once and that's it. Here's what I could do. I could say, all right, I'm Miriam. And now today I'm also working on ordering the AV. I've done that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this in progress because I have started the process of ordering the AV and conferencing equipment. And I could even say, I'm getting the stuff from bestbuy.com. I'll provide the paperwork once delivered. Let's just say, I don't know. And I spelled delivered wrong. Devliard, whatever. So anyway, I put that on there, right? It's now in progress. Now, as Thurman, we're back to Thurman. I'm logging as Thurman. The day is going on. I come back in for the day and I go straight to my view that I care about. And look what I can see. 2 items are in progress. Miriam is working both of them. I could check out the comments to see what she's putting on there. Oh, she's getting it from Best Buy. Cool. You know what I mean? I wish I could like this comment. They should probably do that. That'd be pretty cool. So there's that. That is another thing that you can do with views. Super powerful. Now, I'm going to give you 2 more kinds of views because what we've been looking at is just list views. We're still looking in this list format, but there's some other formats that you could take on. Let me show you what this looks like. So let's say that I wanted to see like a Kanban board, right? Especially since we're managing tasks. So I hit add view and I say, Kanban, and I pick one of these. I'm going to pick board. And what do I want to organize my board by? I'm going to say status. And I will make this a public view, but just know that I have the option to not make it a public view. So I hit create. Now look at this. I get not started, in progress, and completed. And I get the on hold. And I get to drag items from spot to spot. Now, unassigned, I don't like unassigned. And there's nothing, I don't need this. So I'm going to hide this bucket. And from left to right, I get not started, in progress, completed, and on hold. Now, as Miriam, there's items that I need to work. But I'm going to say, let's make an update real quick. Let's say that plan the new floor layout, furniture, review the budget, update insurance and legal docs, install furniture. Okay, I'm going to put install furniture on here. I'm going to assign this to Miriam. And I'm going to say, I'm adding Miriam to this task because where we put the furniture is important when laying the cable, so that's the thing, just so that she knows, right? And I've added that comment, but I'm also going to just, I'll leave that there and I'll say, I'm going to put this on hold because I don't know that, this is going to work out properly. So I'll just put this on hold. And look, all I had to do is drag it and immediately change it to hold. So what have we done so far to this item? I've added a comment, I've assigned Miriam, and I've put it on hold in this board view. But if I go back to the all items view that's listed like a grid, columns all, it's the same item. If we look at the Kanban, that's install furniture that's supposed to be dealing with the external vendor, but we put Miriam on it. If I go back to all items, then look right here, install furniture, and it's already on hold. And Miriam is assigned, and I can see that there's a comment on here by me. All of this is not in separate tabs like you would on a spreadsheet. It's all working that same task. So if I come back over here as Miriam and then I refresh, we'll get a few things. I'll see that Thurman, the project manager, then assigned me to another task, which, great, very annoying. And I see it on my tasks view. And I see the 3 IT items that I'm working, but I also see the external vendor is the department that we're talking about. But if I go to my IT view, I see 5 tasks that is assigned to my department. I'm only assigned to 3 of these inside of my department. The one for the external vendor is not here. So the view that would probably serve me better is the My Task view right here, where I get to see literally what I'm assigned to. If I wasn't assigned to anything, but I'm on an IT team, maybe I could just come straight to the IT view and see what's going on with IT. So I could do that too. Now, I got everything. I got the new task. It's under my tasks. I could see that it's with the external vendor and I see that it's on hold. So I'm like, what's the deal with that? And I can say, why is this on hold? And then make sure Thurman gets tagged with a message. All right, good deal. So we have the ability to create a Kanban board and we can drag and drop items all over the place, and this is beautiful. And we can redesign the way these cards look. We can change the order from left to right of what's going on here. We have options. We can add new buckets, which will add a new choice to the status. Again, tons of options. Let me show you one more view. We have a due date, right, for these items, and it's all in October. Did that on purpose because here's what we can do. Hit add view, and I'm gonna call this calendar. I'm gonna click calendar right here, and I'm gonna say that the default view that I want is month. The start date on the calendar is gonna be due date, and the end date is also going to be due date. We only have one date. We have other ones, but they came from the system. If I wanted to create a start date and a due date, I could do that too. But right now we only have due date and due date. Make this a public view. And then there's another option to what do you want to show up on the calendar? I want it to be the title. Tons of options. Like I said, if you're creating a spreadsheet, you just fly right with your thought process. If you're creating a list, options, options, options. So I hit create. And what do we have here? We have a calendar, month view, and something on the side right here too for today and unscheduled. But what I'm going to do is change this to October. And now look at all of this. Those are all our items. And of course, I can get to the item from this view if I wanted to. So I could go like this, double click on that, update mailing address with the vendors. This is a simple task that is sitting on the calendar view and I can get to it if I wanted to. Now, I can do other things with this view. I can color code it. I can filter it so it works just like my task view. So I could come here and see only my task, but I get to see them in the calendar view. I could skip to today. I can run around to different months. I could do all kinds of things. That's the beauty that I get here. And I'm not scratching the surface right now. I'm just showing you that I can show items inside of a view. So there's that. Okay, hopefully you understand the second reason why you should be using SharePoint lists instead of spreadsheets to manage your tasks. I just showed you views. Unlike tabs at the bottom of a spreadsheet, you get to separate your data all kinds of ways. And after doing that, what do you have? You have the tasks in front of you showing you a different way for you to access that task and do whatever you want with it. And it all stays in sync, unlike a spreadsheet. I'm telling you now, if you're not convinced at this point, I'm very confused because you know how much you pay for Excel? You pay the same amount for everything I've shown you so far if you pay for the Microsoft 365 suite, which is $0. Not true necessarily because it's included, but you know what I mean. You get access to Excel when you pay for Microsoft 365. You also get access to SharePoint. And everything I just showed you, I didn't do anything fancy. It's all out of the box. This is just the beginning. You're going to thank me later, or you're probably going to curse my name when you see the entire rabbit hole that you could go down about all of these things you could do with SharePoint. You will stop using spreadsheets to manage your tasks and your other items after this video is over. You either don't or you get your money back. So there's that. Now let's move into the last piece of what I wanted to show you, which is automation. So remember, the 3 things were forms, views, and automation. SharePoint comes with some automation out of the box. You could extend it and go even more crazy, talk about a rabbit hole, but we're not doing that today. I'm going to show you some of the features that are available in the automation. Let's hop back into the screen. Okay, we are back into the computer. We're at Miriam's screen. Remember, Miriam was looking at the calendars, right? So Miriam wants to go back to the all items view. She prefers the list rather than the calendar. And she's now going over to her task. So she goes to my task and she's like, okay, I actually need to be notified of something. So I'm going to use some automation. She comes to automate and then she looks into flows, and under flows, there's going to be some options. I don't know why it's taking long to load, but okay. All right. She could set a reminder. She wants to set a reminder on the due date. When she does that, she gets to be told ahead of time about a due date. So she could say, you know, this is a scheduled type flow and I want to be reminded reminded of a number of days in advance of the due date column, right? She hits continue. It'll run through and try to do some connections, make sure everything is good to go there. Right here, SharePoint, notifications, Office 365, all good. It's asking me to sign in, but I should already be signed in. Okay, cool. And then right here, sometimes this stuff just happens, but just, follow along and you'll be good to go. So right here, I can rename this and then I can tell it how many days I want to be notified in advance. That's one. I may cancel on that because on top of flows, they also have rules. I can create a rule, and there's a rule right here where it says a date approaches. So I can be told 10 days before the due date to send an email to me. So on the rules, I could create a rule, pick a date approaches, and I could say, 10 days before the due date, notify me, Miriam. Or I could have it notify the person in the assigned to column. Or I could have it notify whoever created the item. I got options. So now let's hit back. Now look at these other ones. If an item is modified, if a new item is created, if an item is deleted, I have these things that I could do on the list. So if I wanted to, let's say modified. So I could do always, or I could do if, which is a condition. So let's say if the status changes and the new value is actually, we're going to pick a value. If the new value is completed, then I want you to send an email to me. This is a rule that I'm creating, an automation that I'm creating for myself. Now, this would probably make more sense as the project manager because, you're coming in, you're managing your tasks, you're doing what you got to do. You want to know when people come and mark an item completed, you want to get the notification of somebody marking an item completed because you're like, all right, let me check it out real quick. Let me just make sure that they're good to go, that they've completed what I asked them to do. Okay, there we go. So we turn it on. Now, let's go back over here as Thurman. Now I'm Thurman. I'm logged in up there. Let's look at what Miriam or Alex, or matter of fact, let's say secure a lease for the new space. And I've secured the lease. See attached. And then I can come down here and click add attachments. After I've done that, I will then say that the status is completed. I can see that that's saved. I'm good to go. I am now going to close this out. Good deal. So on my main view, I have all the completed items. Don't forget about my in progress that I made that was private. I still just see items that are in progress. Doesn't matter what's completed or what's not started or whatever. But on the main view, I could see, how many items are completed. As Miriam, let's go back into Miriam's screen. Now let's see if, what we wanted happened. I'm going to go to Outlook. Remember, I'm Miriam right now. So I'm on my inbox, coming in for the day, seeing what's going on. And look, today at 1:38 a.m., which is completely wrong. Got to update that time. It says that Thurman Trotman changed the status to completed for secure a lease for the new space. And I'm like, oh, is that so? Thurman changed this to completed? Cool. So let's go to that item and I can see all of the details. Thurman marked it complete. And I could see that Thurman left a comment. He said the lease is in the attached. Okay, cool. Let me check that out. So I click on this link and it opens up a client intake questionnaire that is blank. This is the worst lease I've ever seen in my entire life, but that's okay. Good deal. I got access to the file. I can see all the other information. If there was a long list of comments, I could have seen all the comments that happened, got the due date, all this other stuff. Important, good stuff sitting in one location for this one task, because this one task is a record. Now, if I click here, I would go back to the building tasks list. So back to the home view and, back to everything that we're used to. There are more automations that I can set up. I can come on to automate. I can go on the rules. I can create a rule. I can manage the rules that I've already created. Let's just go back to create a rule real quick. And let me show you. Every time a new item is created, I can sign up for this. Every time an item is deleted, I can sign up for that too. Under quick steps, create a quick step, manage quick steps. You have things like these. These are pretty powerful too. Not getting into it, but I'm just showing you again. I am introducing you to the rabbit hole. Have fun. Until I put out another video. And then under automate, configure approvals. This allows us to now start creating approvals in our list. Rabbit hole. Knock yourself out. So yeah, let me reiterate. I have not scratched the surface. What I've shown you here is some basic SharePoint stuff that I think is enough to get you going. The rabbit holes that I mentioned to you, have at it. Knock yourself out. Although I will say, if you have someone like me showing you, how to do this the best way, like what's the best good approach, I would say, to doing this, then you want to follow my videos or sign up for some training. Check the description. There's probably going to be a link there for some type of training that I've either pre-recorded that's on demand or a live training that I'll be holding just check the link, see what's available, because I think that this stuff is so much better when you, one, learn it live, and then two, get to ask questions while you're learning it live. That's like one of the most powerful things ever. So check the description for live trainings that I'll be doing about lists. I could go on all day. There are a billion features on here. We didn't even talk about permissions. Like, why was Miriam able to do the same thing that Thurman could do on that same list? There's a reason for that, and you can change that. There's all kinds of formatting you could do. There's all kinds of views you can do. Maybe if you're a project manager and like, man, I want to do a WBS. I don't like looking at just this task list. I want to create a WBS. We could take that same list, create a WBS, call it a WBS view, where you only work as the project manager. You have your WBS view, and everybody else is still seeing all those views that we created. That is powerful stuff that I'd love to show you in this video, but we've taken up enough time. You know what I mean? So here's what I need you to do. You'll have way more context about what I'm talking about. Number two, you want to follow me because, again, I'll be announcing training that I'll be doing, and you want to stay following me because I put everything on LinkedIn. That's like my main spot, at least during this season of my life. And then number three, follow me here on YouTube because I got more videos coming. I want to do more of these that are more in-depth, showing you literally the goodness that you're missing out on. I think that's it. And also listen to my podcast, because I do talk about this on my podcast too, but you ain't gonna see all this technical stuff on the podcast. You'll hear me talking more strategically on the podcast about how to strategically use this stuff. So you have a list and you know how to manage your tasks. That is just the beginning. Maybe you as an employee, like, this is powerful to you, but if I talk to your boss about this, or if you are the boss and you're watching this right now, you want to approach this like your command center. You know what I'm saying? And there's a way to do this that I think that you would love to see. And again, you just got to follow me, listen to the podcast, whatever. I'll be talking about it as I get a little bit more organized about how I put out this information. For now, just, follow me. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope that was helpful. I'll see you in the next video.